What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in. This is the Juice Box Heroes podcast. It is the Sunday episode, the Sunday before Christmas. I'm PK. That's Bryles. We still got just Chris. Fellas, how was y'all's weekend?
Man, it was super duper busy. Super busy, man. Got a little bit of baseball practice in, but besides that, man, just you could definitely tell it's the last weekend before Christmas because it has been nonstop, nonstop. And I'm honestly, a part of me is ready for it to be over. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Browse, how was your weekend?
Yeah, I'll take the same. It was super busy as well. We had a lot of family stuff going on. Got to go see the Nutcracker downtown. That was awesome. And, we got to have dinner after that. And then I made the very big mistake of going shopping this weekend. So, unless you're going to cut your way out or cut your way in and shoot your way out, don't ever go to the mall or anything or anywhere. Just stay at home. That's what I'll say. So, anyway, PK, how about you, buddy?
Not as eventful as you guys. I watched a lot of college football yesterday. I watched a fantastic game that started at 11 and ended at 2:30 with Miami beating the Aggies at their house. So ruining their season. So it was a fantastic way to start my weekend. And then today, same thing. Watched football, hung around the house, played some games with the kids. So I still have a little bit of shopping to do, so I will do that probably tomorrow. I will probably regret it, as soon as I start and finish, but it has to be done. So, man, let's get into this thing. I think this is going to be our last episode before Christmas. We'll catch up with you guys after that, I would assume. The topic, the title for today's, episode is, what's next for the Astros, right? We talked about, we had the trade on what was that, Wednesday? I believe it was Wednesday that went down, right? Where Melton got sent over, part of the 3-team trade, gets sent to Tampa. We get Burrows from Pittsburgh. We talked about that on Wednesday. And other than that, it's been kind of, Astros wise has been kind of just kind of quiet. Little bit of news around the league. Might touch on that a little bit. There's still a lot of questions, though. I still think we have to address the starting pitching, obviously, right? That's still a big key. I mean, you brought in some guys like Weiss and Burrows and Nate Pearson, and but you still have a lot of questions. So it's gonna be curious to see how things are going to kind of shape out. Going into 2026 in January. Because you think about it, I mean, it's the 21st right now. I mean, you've got about a month and a half, right? Month and a half before pitchers and catchers report. So I mean, it's getting really freaking close. What do you guys think? What do you think's on the menu, on the horizon for the Astros going forward?
Yeah, I would say that barring any type of news that happens between now and obviously Christmas Day, this probably will be the last time you see us until post Christmas. But I mean, I would say that I think as far as starting pitching wise, the Astros are done. I did read something that Dana Brown came out, or a quote that he came out and said that basically their focus now was going to be the backup catcher position and the bullpen. So our big acquisition, I think, for starting pitch wise is going to be the Mike Burrows trade. And now, I mean, I know we kind of touched upon this a little bit. I do think that Caratini will not be coming back. I mean, but like a lot of it is just now. I really think it's going to be a lot of not so major big moves. I mean, outside of like if you look at the catcher's market, outside of Caratini, Real Muto, it's just a bunch of guys. I mean, you've got Christian Vasquez, Reese McGuire, you've got Elias Diaz from Colorado. So again, a lot of names that guys, outside of Christian Vasquez, that a lot of Astros fans probably aren't too familiar with. But as far as that, I don't think you're going to see. You're not going. I don't think you're going to see Ranger Suarez. You're not going to see JT Realmuto. You're not going to see whatever high end free agent bullpen arm. It's going to be what we've pretty much seen all season. I think it's going to be low risk, high reward type of players, guys that are more on the cost efficient side. So again, I mean, I think it's going to be a whole lot of not stuff that's going to crunch or going to crush the headlines. We are pretty much at the halfway point, I believe, of the off season since now November's over. December's about to wrap up here pretty soon. And then January, I would think. I mean, at least it's used to be January is like, let's get all the rest of these guys signed up. That way we go into February knowing what guys that we're going to have. And then, but now it's kind of turned into the last like week or so, even into spring training now, the last few guys will get signed up. So we're probably about halfway through this off season. Most definitely the most exciting portion is slowly coming down. So yeah, I mean, Bros, what do you think?
I do want to play off what you said, and I agree and I disagree. I definitely agree with that. I think that for right now, all those moves that have been made, that's probably going to be it. We've had some moves, obviously, for the starting rotation, which we were trying to bolster. We were looking to actually, add somebody to the outfield, which we haven't yet. However, one of the things they talked about, though, was, how are they going to take Myers, yada, yada, yada. And I think with Melton moving in the Burrows move, that, we're probably not going to see anything else like that. Like you're not going to hear any chirping about Myers being moved unless we get some gigantic package for him or something like that. And I do agree with you also on the cost effective part. I think that as of right now, and this is from what I saw, and don't get me wrong, I have not vetted this, but on Twitter, they were saying that we still have about $24 million right now to spend before we get to that luxury cap that is supposedly where we're going to have to stop. So why I say I agree and I disagree, I agree with you. But also, as we get closer to that spring training start in February, I think you might see once some of these guys start going on the clearance rack and dropping their numbers and saying, hey, by the way, I do have to find a team to go play for. We might see some signings that we weren't necessarily expecting. We've seen this in the past. I think we could see it potentially this season or this upcoming season, and then going forward into 2026. So that's kind of the way I see it. But yeah, I think the biggest move or big splash move that we saw was Burrows. I mean, we gave up two of our biggest prospects in the minor leagues for him. I really hope this pans out. I've seen he's got fantastic stuff. So hopefully that they can turn him into the pitchers that we saw, like a Garrett Cole or, even any of these guys that we've just pulled off the heap and turned into like big guys. Oh, Colin McHugh, that's who I was about to say. So anyway, PK, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in line with all you guys. We know where Crane likes to hang out, right? As far as these, mid-season sign-ins or off-season sign-ins, right? He's not going to break the bank. I mean, he's a very good businessman. He knows, his max limit that he wants to spend on these guys, right? So you're looking what we've acquired so far with Burrows and Weiss and the signing of Nate Pearson, right? Pearson, right? It's Pearson.
Yes.
Like you're looking at those mid-tier starting pitchers, right? Where they want to get them in the lab and they want to see what they can do with them, right? I mean, like I said, once Cease set the market at 7-7 for 210 for 7 years, once he set the market at that takes us out of the running for a lot of these pitchers. The Ranger Suarez that we talked about, right? We all saw and talked about the package that Baltimore gave up to get Shane Baz, right? Like big package of prospects to go. So, I mean, the dude's smart. I mean, obviously he's smart. He owns his franchise. He's done a pretty damn good job in the moves, albeit it's come with some slack. I mean, not some slack, but it's come with some backlash, right? I mean, not that we carry a lot of weight, but me and Bryles, we didn't like the Kikuchi deal last year. We're going to talk about that forever and a day, and look how that panned out, right? At least for that second half of the season. Now you didn't get to retain him, but in Kikuchi's sake, he was able to go to Anaheim and capitalize on the success that he had with us over those 2.5 months, right? So I agree. I think you're looking at that mid-tier starting pitching. I don't think I just don't think you're going to make a big splash in the starting pitching market, right? Now, going to talking about like our farm system, we talked about this right before we went on. We saved it kind of to talk about it on Wednesday when we met. We talked about giving up Burrito and giving up Melton, right? And prior to that, we talked about Melton vying for a potential starting spot on this squad, right? And we also talked about like the Astros farm system rankings as far as MLB is concerned. And what is funny and what you see on social, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, is the mainstream media talks about how bad the Astros minor league system is. But as soon as we move somebody, those guys get talked about as this guy could be, perennial all-star, potential all-star, and they're talking about that with Jacob Melton, right? Where on our team, on our organization wise, he's a fourth outfielder, platoon guy that saw a little bit of power, Brito is 21, was in single A, has some good stuff, but he has some injury prone. He's injury prone, right? So what's funny is that, because I remember saying that on Wednesday that, hey, you can almost forget about the rankings of our farm system. Yeah, like we want to be higher, of course we do, right? But the guys that we've brought up from the lower levels up to the Astros have produced for us. So what does that say about your organization as a whole? Yeah, like the outside people look at that organization and say, oh, these guys are the 29th ranked team or organization, overall. But the guys that come up, they're productive for the big league squad. And then now, in this case, they're part of a big deal, right? Air quotes, big deal, right? 3-team trades, a pretty big deal. You don't see that very often. And they're getting a lot of run, especially Melton, about what this guy could potentially be. So kind of funny to see how the outside of Houston lens looks on our prospects once they leave the organization.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, it's funny how like supposedly on paper, we had the second to worst, farm system, and then we make the Kyle Tucker trade, and then I think we bumped up like 2 spots, and then Cam Smith makes a team out of camp, and everyone was like, oh, who were the Astros going to get because their farm system so terrible. And then you make a trade. I believe, what was it? Someone from either ESPN or MLB.com gave that trade a D plus for the Astros because,
Yeah.
and I do believe that they wrote that the Astros were giving up a perennial 30-30 guy, basically their Kyle Tucker replacement. And I was like, wow, if this guy's a Kyle Tucker replacement, how is he not like the top 20, 25, ranked prospect in all the majors? So it's just kind of funny. I mean, like between that and, and a lot of the times, like too, like not just the national media, it's just Astros fans, themselves. I mean, like today, the White Sox signed that Japanese third baseman, and they got him on a pretty team friendly deal. I mean,
That was pretty cheap.
It was pretty cheap.
2 for 34.
Now, granted, now they also have to pay the just the rights to talk to him, so that's also you got to take account for that. But there was a couple people on X. It's like, oh, this is a guy the Astros could have signed, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, okay, yeah, if they sign him, where the hell is he going to play?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, the Astros are like, like mad scientists trying to get Isak Paredes playing time. It's the same conversation we had about Caratini. If we sign this Japanese player who plays third base or first base, where is he going to play?
Or DH,
I mean, so it's like, I get it. The price is a phenomenal price. However, the logistics of like, basically like, why would you bring him on? And now you have to basically, do all this crazy, like lineup reconstruction just to get him every day at bats. I mean, that's not going to work out. I mean, so I just think I know Bros was talking about how they had 24 million, and I think last year or this past season they eclipsed the CBT or whatever by like 1.4 million. So they had to pay, I don't know, they had to pay something, which basically means that the pick we get for Fromber is going to be like in the 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't see I see them, like I said, going low cost, high reward, and then basically saving some money to the side in case you need to go and make a trade for somebody come the trade deadline. So like I think they spend another maybe 10 between now and when pitchers and catchers report. I don't see them burning through that 24. I think they'll probably keep some change on the side, like I said, for if they need to bring on a player and eat some of that contract as far as come up the trade deadline. So I just, like I said, I mean, like it's just long story short. I agree with PK about the whole our farm system sucks until we trade somebody. I think Astros fans also have to just kind of understand the logistics of, yes, you can't sign everybody because everybody's got to find playing time. And like I think a lot of people should just like, let the whole Burrows trade play out. I mean, like he could be Garrett Cole 2.0. I mean, or he could just be a really good number 3 or number 4. Either way, let it play out before you like have an aneurysm. Hey, it's the holiday season. Enjoy your holidays. Don't get all stressed out over an Astros trade.
Yeah, be
Especially
stressed
when
out
you
about
haven't-
gifts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, poor PK's got to go. He's got to go to war tomorrow just
That's
to go
right.
finish up his Christmas shopping.
That's
I
correct.
mean, your day could be a lot worse.
That's right. It's
So-
called procrastination, baby.
There you go. Procrastination always gets you far.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I mean, like, I don't think we'll see anything probably until maybe next week. I think everybody's pretty much done. I would love to see a trade. I doubt. I don't think it's. I will say I probably think if they do add somebody, it's probably going to be via trade again. I mean, unless it's going to be a very low end, like catcher, maybe someone like Reese McGuire, maybe someone like him you can get for like a 1 year, $4 million deal. So I don't know. I don't want to talk the whole time. Brawls, what do you got?
Well, so just to touch on the minor league thing real quick, I think all three of us have talked about this, not only just this entire off season, but even before that. It's like our AA system and our AAA system has absolutely groomed and turned these guys that weren't necessarily these huge high-end picks that weren't expected to be anything into guys that are tradable pieces. That's why Jacob Melton was able to go in this, 3-team trade and Brito Anderson to get Burrows. So, I understand that Burrows is not necessarily the proven guy that everybody was like, oh my God, that's the guy we want. But at the same time, you got to understand, like the minor league system that we have has done a phenomenal job of getting these guys into a position to where if we can't use them, then we're going to trade them for a piece that we need and can use right now. So I think that they've done a phenomenal job of that. Secondly, on the Munetaka Murakami, signing with the White Sox, one, Astros didn't need him. Chris, you absolutely nailed that. That we've got too many infielders anyway, so I don't even understand why anybody on X was like, oh, the Astros could have used him and all this yada yada yada, or anywhere else on social media, because you're right. Don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal player. But for our team, we have no room for him. You were also 100% correct. We're just trying to find at-bats for Isaac Paredes the way that the roster is currently set. So we're going to see how that plays out. So, but the one thing that does absolutely perplex me is, why did he go to the White Sox?
That's what I'm saying.
If you're...
Well, I think it's because he was nearing that. So, like, I think all the international players have until, I think, 5 o'clock tomorrow. Or I think they lose their rights to talk to the major league teams. So, I'm thinking, like, they were probably asking a pretty massive price. And then all the major teams probably balked. And they were probably like, hey, we can settle on this deal with the White Sox. You're in the majors. And then that way... I mean, if I'm the White Sox, I mean, that's an easy trade to make. If he goes off, I'm flipping him. And I'm flipping him by the trade deadline if he goes off.
But so you think that contract's just a showcase?
Probably, yeah. I mean, like, I think it's... Yeah, because I think they all have to sign by 5 o'clock tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, I mean, I would assume he was the most... he was the most highlighted guy of all the guys coming over from Japan. So...
Was this the one that said he wanted to beat the Dodgers? He didn't want to play
No,
for
that
him.
was that was Iami, I think.
Yeah,
And
okay.
he's a pitcher. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, maybe his asking price was too high. Everybody else balked, and the White Sox were like, "Hey, here's what we'll give you," and they're probably like, "Hey, it's either that or you play in Japan next season." So
Which
maybe
if
that's
that's the route that Chicago goes, it's brilliant. Like it's brilliant.
yeah,
Like
Yeah, I mean,
they're not in a position to win, right? And
no,
so if he goes off and you move him in July and you pick up all these prospects to come back, I mean, you're
why
setting
not?
yourself up. Why not?
yeah.
You're
I mean,
basically paying for prospects at that point. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, so I don't know what his what do you call it, staging prices or whatever, that where
the
you have
posting
to
fee.
The posts, yeah.
posting fee. Thank you.
Yeah,
So I don't know what his
I think
posting
it
fee
was like
was.
20 or 30 just to talk to him,
Damn.
or like
So
you got to pay that to his team if you sign him. So really, that 34 was probably like 64, maybe between
64.
54 and 64. So
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
either
if you're the
way,
White Sox, you're just paying $64 million to basically buy the most top end prospects in all of Major League Baseball's farm system that you possibly can. Is that what we're saying?
yeah, I mean that's yeah, I
Potentially,
mean
yeah.
that's if potentially if he goes off.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Which
it's a
he
gamble.
should. Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah,
But
I mean the
but
that's
good
like
a
thing
good.
is,
I never
Chicago's
would have
got
thought
money
of
to
it that way.
spend.
yeah,
Oh,
I
they got all
mean,
the money to spend in the world. They're not paying anybody at this
Right.
point.
Right.
yeah,
So
I mean
anyway,
it's a good
that's a good
gamble.
way to think about it.
Well, it's a splash for them. It's a splash, right? Like people are talking about the freaking Chicago White Sox, right? I mean, at minimum, right? Even before this guy stepped foot into spring training or anything, like everyone's, not everybody, but you're talking about the White Sox, right? We're talking about it potentially. I mean, just as the conversation is going. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens with that. It'd be interesting to follow. I mean, we're going to see him. We're going to see him this, in 26, right?
Yeah,
Potentially. So we'll get a close and personal view.
no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, so like, do you think Jake Myers gets traded, or do you think now he's our everyday center fielder?
I think at this point he's our everyday center fielder. With Jacob Melton going in the Burrows deal, I don't see how that we're going to try to get him off our books and try to bolster any other position that we have. Because I mean, I obviously I'm speculating, but the way I see this worked out was that they shopped Myers and said, "Hey, okay, look, guys, we got a center fielder. These are his stats. He's looked phenomenal. He had that one injury, but after that, he bounced back. He looked fantastic. Yada yada yada." And I don't think anybody was like biting on it, to be honest with you. So I think that's when, at the very last end of it, the Burrows deal came up, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, we don't want Myers though. We want some of your guys in the minor leagues." Which, I mean, if you're talking about the Pirates and the Rays, what are these guys always trying to get anyway? They're always trying to get, prospects coming up. So it didn't matter, I think, which team they went to. I know that they're going to the Rays, but at the same time, that's just kind of the way it worked out. So I honestly think that right now Myers is going to be our center fielder. There is no way he is going to get traded because we still need a little bit of outfield help. Keep that in mind. Melton's gone. I mean, I know we've got Zach Cole, but as of right now, Zach Cole's penciled in left field unless something crazy happens. So anyway, that's kind of the way I see it.
Well, you still have Sanchez that we always forget about, right?
True.
Jesus Sanchez.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, you do, but you don't.
Well, right
Yeah,
now
you have
we
Jesus
him.
Sanchez against righties.
No, I get it. I understand. And I wish I could remember what I said on Wednesday when we talked about this because I cannot remember what I said about Myers getting moved again. Not again, but okay. So if you move Myers, then Cole has to be your starting center fielder, right? Who would platoon with, center fielder, right? Who would platoon with, I guess, Sanchez against righties, I'm guessing, or on the days that Jordan gets a day off, like on a Wednesday afternoon or a Sunday at 1:00, something like that, right? So your four outfielders right now is Jordan, Jesus Sanchez, Myers, Cole, Smith. So 5. You got 5 guys for 3 spots, right? Cam's going to hold down right. Myers is going to hold down center, and you'll have some type of platoon, I would assume, out and left, right? Although I know that Espada, and Bryles, you didn't get a chance to ask him this at dinner on Saturday, but I think Espada did say that Jordan is primarily going to be our DH, right? He will get some play out and left, but he is primarily the DH. And we've all seen, the potentially scary movements that man has out in left field. He's got bad knees, right? We want him at the plate. We need a healthy Jordan the whole season, right? So you got 5 guys for 3 spots, right? So you're really looking at a Jesus Sanchez and a Zach Cole in left when Jordan's DHing, right? And like Chris brought up, you're looking at Jesus Sanchez against righties. How many at bats did Zach Cole have against lefties at the end of last season, right? Like, you know what I mean? So it's still, I think, to answer the initial question of does Myers get moved, I think you probably need to wait and see what they're going to do with Jesus Sanchez, possibly, right? Because having a guy that can only hit against right-handed pitching, that's not a recipe for success. We talked about it last season. That's Chris's big thing. Every time we bring up the name Jesus Sanchez, only against right-handed pitching, which is a fact. So I think it's probably safer to say now that Myers does stay, unless there's some offer that comes out that just blows it out of the water. However, to Bryles' point, I don't think that the teams were biting on the offers that are on the offers that we wanted, or the players that we wanted back from Myers. I don't think people were biting on that, so that's why he hasn't been moved either. So it's probably safer to say that Myers is going to stay.
Yeah, and I think both of y'all hit the nail on the head. I think the big thing of why Myers wasn't moved is because of the piece that they were asking back, and that was a young, controllable starting pitcher. And as great as Jake Myers was last year, I'm sorry, and I know we've talked about this the last time we came on. Jake Myers is not worth a young, controllable starting pitcher. He's going to get you back a couple minor league pieces, and I just think that teams were like, "Cool story. We're not giving you Cole Reagans for Jake Myers. You're not going to get Mike Burrows for Jake Myers." I mean, Jake Myers he's one of those guys. He's had one healthy season, which healthy-ish really, because he got hurt last season. The only way I see Jake Myers getting traded is if maybe you include him in a deal, maybe with the prospect, and maybe that package is like Brendan Donovan, which at that point you slide Zach Cole to center field. Brandon Donovan's your everyday left fielder. Cam Smith's your everyday right fielder. And then you can just pretty much, move the 2 corner outfielders around with Jesus Sanchez as needed, and that kind of solves that. So, I agree. I don't, as far as Jake Myers, like 1-for-1 going for, like, you're not going to trade Jake Myers for a backup catcher. You're not going to trade Jake Myers for a bullpen piece. So, the only thing I could think of is like you're looking. I think St. Louis comes to mind perfectly. They're looking to kind of retool, maybe a minor rebuild. That would be the team that I would say, hey, Jake Myers is going to cost you an arm and a leg. We'll throw in a double-A pitcher, and basically you get an everyday fantastic defensive outfielder in Jake Myers. You could send us back Brendan Donovan. If you want to eat some of the money, because I think that was the trade that the Cardinals made today. They ate some of the money from the Wilson Contreras trade today. So if they eat some of the money, maybe keep the salary down to let's say a little right at 10 or a little bit below that. I could see a Jake Myers and include AAA pitcher not named Ethan Petco or Miguel Uola going to St. Louis for potentially a Brendan Donovan. But I think 1-for-1. If it's going to be 1-for-1, then make sure everybody does not throw away their Jake Myers jersey. He'll be your starting center fielder.
Well, here's the other thing. Here's the one thing quick about Cole, right? And this is not to be Debbie Downer. It's just facts. You only have a small sample size of this kid up at the major league level, right? And so, can you imagine if the guy, you move Myers and Cole gets penciled in as your starting center fielder, and he starts the season, terribly. You want to talk about bitching and moaning, right? In Astros Twitter or Facebook about we should have moved Myers. We needed that, veteran, whatever, right? Cole's, sample size was too small. I mean, there's someone's always going to complain about any move we make, right? Whether it's us or any of the fans in Houston, it doesn't matter. I mean, someone's always going to hate it. So I think with the Myers, I think you just have to keep him at this point, and if he comes off starts that first half of the season, at the same pace that he was in the beginning of 25, maybe at the deadline you can move him, right? And you can acquire some talent that way. Other than that, I think you go into 26 with him as your starting center fielder.
And this is the last thing that I do want to say about it is that if you think about it, now that he hasn't been traded, his value for us is way higher than anything we'll get in a return. Just kind of to the point of what you guys have said. So yeah, we need to just keep him on the team and let him go out there, hit, let him go run. We know he's fast. We know he can play defense. And then hopefully we're going to get that 300 plus batting average again from him this coming up year, and then just go from there.
Yeah, and hopefully he finds a helmet this year that fits, because that drove me up the wall.
Yeah, no season.
And one more thing to add. Nobody wants Christian Walker. End of story. There you go.
Oh yeah, or Kevin Biggio.
Or Joey Loperfido. Nobody wants him. That was another one I read. It's like, oh, the Astros are terrible. Fire Dana Brown because he didn't go after Pete Alonso. I'm like, again, where's he going to play? You can't trade Walker. Nobody wants him. So
that's correct.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man. Look, that's going to take us all. That's going to take us to the end of the episode for this one, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Had some interesting things in the chat, so that was funny. I appreciate the people tuning in and listening and interacting with us, man. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Enjoy time with your family. If you're off, enjoy the days off. Have a great time with the kids, man. Like I said, we're going to be back on Sunday. That's going to be the 28th, right? The 28th. We'll be back on 28th after Christmas break, and we'll get into some more Astros talk. But until then, this is the Juicebox Heroes. I'm PK. That's Bryles. That's just Chris. You guys have a Merry Christmas.
Have a good one, guys.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yes, sir.